Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this is the Reptilians. This is actually a subject that's been covered twice in the past. We had an episode called The World Conspiracy and also an episode called The Reptilians and the Dark Forces. But Kuntarkis has so much more he can share about these whites and greens, as I like to call them, these two different versions of reptilians that are literally among us without most of us knowing about it. And so this starts with Kuntarkis and I just discussing what we're going to cover in the episode.
Yeah, what I'll do, I'll actually start again and I'll explain about the green reptilians and the dark forces and how the whitish aliens have come on board. I'll explain that if you like.
You want to explain the dark forces again, do you?
No, I don't really need to, no.
No. Or just how they relate to each other.
Okay.
One thing you did mention before was that the reptilians have no idea about them.
Exactly, they don't. More so, the whitish aliens have no idea about the dark forces, nor the green reptilians.
You're
because
kidding.
because they can't see them.
Yeah.
The green reptilians vibrate either in a slightly lower frequency or a slightly higher frequency to the third dimensional planet Earth. That's why we can't see them. They can stand right in front of us and we can't see them. But if we open up our third eye by going into an alpha state, then we will actually see them. We may not see their entire form. We may just see their face. And what it looks like there's this greyish sort of spitty type light shooting past their face. And it's like they're looking through a veil in time. It's quite interesting to observe. Very hard to define, but it's interesting.
So, and the other ones, the white ones, they are also able to phase out of physical reality?
They can phase out into the fourth dimension, yes. They can hide in the fourth dimension.
I think you said they're not as good at it.
No, they're not.
Right.
No.
Like you said, I think you said the greens could last like 2 or 3 days.
Absolutely, even longer. But the whitish, they can step through what they have created as technology, which allows them to step into a higher vibration, which is the fourth dimension. And they can also step down from the fourth dimension and appear suddenly in the third dimension. And you wouldn't even know. You might suddenly see a person standing there or an alien standing there, and it would just shock you because they were suddenly there yet before they weren't. And they can go back. But that's through technology, just like the greens. The greens also use technology. See, you've also got the greys. There's different levels of greys that can actually come within the third dimension as well as go back into the fourth dimension. So they also have technology.
Including their ships.
Including their ships that can hide. And I was explaining that the Americans have got this camera system that I think it was a German scientist. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember his name. But he developed this type of camera that it must go into like time lapse where it doesn't click and it waits and it catches the images that are there. And being in time click, you can catch what's not there, and when you play it back, you can see it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So, Kuntarkis, can you please clarify for us the difference between what we're calling the green, as in like the lime green reptilians, and the whitish ones, and which ones came at what time, and what their differences are?
Okay. Well, let's go first to the green reptilians. The green reptilians have been around for several thousand years, and they have been influencing humanity in many different forms, in many different ways. They want to experience our way of life. And as I've explained once before, they don't have feelings and they don't have, how would you say, empathy, or they don't really understand the meaning of love. Where they exist is a very negative place. It's always got sadness. I mean, I could actually use China as an example. If you go to China, you'll see a lot of people and they got nothing but a sad look on their face. And they walk around with their heads down low. Yes, their government tells them always look happy. But they aren't, because they're suppressed as a people. They're living under some sort of regime where they're fully controlled. Now, with the green reptilians, it's actually very similar. They have a system where the system says, this is what you are, this is what you do. And they do it without question. But they're not happy because they're missing some very vital ingredients in their makeup, and that is understanding love, not just for yourself, but how to express it to others. Like a female, for instance, they don't know how. If you say, what about empathy? Do you feel empathy for someone that's hurt themselves? They don't seem to have that ability to feel that empathy. If someone or one of their beings falls over, they'll stop and look. But most of them are so blind to it, they walk away. Where we as humans, if someone down the street falls over, not so much today, we're losing that, I must admit. But most of the time, people would run over to them and say, hey, you okay? Well, these green reptilians want to experience what we as humans experience. They want to feel the joy, the love, the empathy, and have fun and learn how to smile, because honestly, I've had experiences with them and I've never seen one smile. They've always got the most grumpiest look on their face. Whether that's got to do with their evolution, how they've transformed from this large sort of, how would you say, well, reptilian type creature, which is what they evolved from. What they look like, I have no idea. But they don't have tails anymore. But they do have one very interesting part where the tail used to be. They have this round, slightly protruding lump that's shaped a little bit like an egg. That's where their tail originally existed long ago. It's like it's stuck with them. What they want to do with humanity is find ways of controlling us and eventually take over. And they also want to learn how to genetically modify their genetics with human DNA. So they can literally come into a young body and experience human life and grow, and then mate with another and become more human as the generations go on. This is like a plan to them. Now, when we go into the whitish aliens that are really causing mass confusion and mass fear amongst humanity right now, in this very moment, they have been doing that for just over 452 years. Prior to that, their race used to visit planet Earth many times to take the resources. And that's why you see the plateaus totally flat in some countries where mountaintops have been removed and not one boulder was left. They took everything. It's like they did a clean job. Now, they used to take all those resources for minerals because they lost their own resources on their own world. As time evolved, in the last 452 years, one ship came back because they were going to be hunted down and put to death. How many came to Earth? I have no idea exactly. I can't find out to a point, but there must have been a few of them. They ended up affecting humanity over that 452 years. They caused many wars which would benefit them in making lots of money. What's interesting is, even the Napoleon War, they influenced him so badly that he caused the death of hundreds of thousands of soldiers and even people. They also influenced the First World War, where so many people perished. They even influenced the Second World War with Hitler so badly. And they even got deeply involved into genetic engineering. And what their game is a little different to the green reptilians. They have learnt genetically how to modify, I suppose, the cellular structure where they can become human. And now, over that 452 years, they have been living amongst us. More human than not. There are still ones that are totally alien, and they have decided not to change. So they sort of hide in the background, and they sort of enjoy the resources that have been coming in and keep in the dark. What they decided to do now is create massive businesses that would allow tremendous amount of profits to come into them through genetic engineering. And they're the ones that have influenced, especially the pharmaceutical companies that produce the vaccines, that every government on this earth seems to want to force every human being to have both shots. The problem is, what's in those vaccines will over time kill the person that has had the vaccine. And their job is to try and change the genetic structure in humans so it matches theirs completely. And that's why the second shot plays with the human DNA, and we no longer can be classed as human.
Wow, it's because they're trying to match it to ours. I mean, trying to match it to theirs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will think like them, and they will literally control all of humanity, even through implanting microchips. Now, I was talking to someone just today, and they asked my opinion, and I told them, and they laughed. I said, "Why are you laughing?" And it just sounds like a movie. I said, "Of course it does. Where do you think all the truth comes from? From another level of consciousness, we are being shown what is to come, but we don't see it because all we see is the movie and the action, because we're not self-aware to see beyond it." Now, if you take a $50 note, Michael, today, right now, the new ones, and what do you see on the $50 note? A microchip. A microchip. Interesting. Flat, flat, flat. You can't even feel it. What do you see in MasterCards, debit cards? Now, a microchip. Flat. That's what they're going to put in to humans. You won't even know it. It's so small, you won't even know it's going in. And it'll be flexible. Even though the body may create defense system around it, it can't destroy it, because it's built out of a substance that can't be destroyed by the body. And it can cover it all up, but they can still, through a frequency, receive that frequency and literally, eventually, make you do whatever they want you to do. And they'll know exactly where you are. There is so much going on that we think it's a government conspiracy. But what we have to do is open our eyes up and see that the whole world, every government in the entire world is doing exactly the same thing. And we have to stop and ask ourselves why. There is something greater behind the governments. And it's all these big, powerful business people who are, from generation back to generation back, aliens. And they have learned through genetic engineering because they are several million years ahead of our own evolution. And look how far we have come in technology and science. Why would they not be so far ahead of us and capable of doing what our scientists want to do but haven't got the technology to do it? And if you give someone the technology, say in a massive pharmaceutical company, and say, well, I can help you do this, they'll jump to it. And I'll pay you this amount of money to do this. And before you know it, after maybe 100 years of conspiracy, they've got the perfect plan. And that's why they're doing it. There's a question that we all need to ask ourselves. And I was only talking to my wife about that. Why does the governments worldwide want to vaccinate every child before they start school next year? Why do they want to vaccinate every other person ASAP? They say if you don't get vaccinated, you're a threat to those people. Well, logically, that doesn't make any sense. Because if you get vaccinated with whatever it is that's supposed to help you build up the antibodies, then how can you get sick from someone that hasn't had it when you've already got the antibodies? Because that's what they're saying. Once you've had the injections, your body will build up the antibodies and you won't get sick again. You might get it, but you won't get sick. Well, there you are. Why are the ones who haven't had it a threat? Because they want every single human to have those injections so they can literally control you or kill you. One of the two.
Wow.
That's what we have to think, Michael.
And you were saying all these, like, what was it, SARS and swine flu and the Black Plague, and can you talk about how they were all also influenced by the reptilians and why?
Most diseases that go back probably about 200 years or maybe just a little bit under, they were created by these whitish aliens. They have the ability to create any type of virus or bacteria they choose to. The reason that makes sense is because even the Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, the Australians, the English, they have all created bacterias and deadly viruses that could kill the world 10,000 times over. They have that capability right now. So why should the aliens not have the same ability when they're several million years ahead of us in evolution?
And influencing us strongly also.
And influencing us completely. Very simple to influence us, especially people in high power. Now, this is going to sound really judgmental, but it's the actual truth. People in governments are not aware, not self-aware. They think purely logic. Pretty well 99%. If you only think logic and you only see through logic, then that means you're not self-aware of what is around you or what is within you. So they're naturally not aware. of what's going on, so they are very easily influenced by an outer force. It's like I mentioned many times about the dark forces, Michael. They influence us so easily through thought manipulation. And we think that there's a voice talking to us in our heads. And even scientists and doctors are saying when you hear a spirit or you hear a voice, it's only like, say, hallucinations, right? Because of maybe you're an alcoholic or a drug taker or things like that. But it's not real. So they numb you by giving you these certain drugs. And it brings you right down less than being third dimensional in your thinking. So you don't see spirit anymore, that's for sure. And you don't even hear voices anymore.
Regardless of whether they're spirit or dark forces.
That's right. That's right. Now, a lot of government people are like that, Michael, because they're not aware. So they are also very easily influenced. And I will say this about the dark forces. They will go to people who are normally in important positions because they know by influencing them, they can also then influence others through those people because they're the ones that make the law or bring the law out.
Like, for instance, all the fear that's happening because of either the COVID or getting the vaccination or dying of the vaccination. That fear is all of benefit to the dark forces.
That's right.
Wow.
That's very true. Now, I'm not saying that COVID-19 isn't actually real because there are people dying. But what I would like to see, I'd like to see a register of all those people deaths. In other words, to say, yes, John Smith, he died on this date from this. So we actually know that that is actually true, but no one ever tells us. And if you go into the local newspapers, you see the average death, which is a person has passed away for a heart attack or is their old age or, they had a stroke or they've had a car accident or things like that. But no one's really brought forth a sheet of paper saying, well, this is a list of people in Australia, in each state, there's their names, who have been entered into the hospital and died. What's really interesting about hospitals, Michael, is that they are the worst places to be because there's no fresh air. It's all air conditioned, whether it's a heating system or a cooling system. And most of them are not kept clean. Their filters are dirty. And we are breathing in that entire hospital the same air. So if you get people put into quarantine, then ask yourself this question. Is the same air conditioning going into the quarantine rooms as it goes into the normal patients' rooms? And if that is the case, well, there's a problem to begin with.
For sure, yes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of negatives, Michael, to be looked at to actually start seeing a bit more truth.
Yeah, and there's been so much, even the numbers have been so falsified. It's been made obvious how false a lot of these statistics are, how many died and this and that.
That's right.
Yeah, it is. Back to the reptilians. How did you say? Can you speak about how they don't even? What was it like? The greens don't even know that the whites are here.
Oh no, it's the other way around. Sorry, no. The greens are very aware of the actual white aliens. It's the white aliens that aren't aware of the green reptilians, mainly because they live within a vibration that's vibrating differently to their consciousness. So they don't see the green reptilians.
And am I putting this right? Did you say that they're almost, as far as genetic manipulation and getting into humans, they both kind of want the same thing when it comes to the way that they can become human. Is that right?
That is actually true. It's
Interesting.
like, yeah, if the whites were aware of the green reptilians, you could actually say it's like a competition who's going to get their marker first, isn't it? That's what it looks like, but that's not the reality. It's just a fact that the greens want planet Earth, and they want to eventually all become human and live in human bodies. They don't want to look the way they look. They want to live the way we live and look the way we do and enjoy the things we do. The whites, they simply want to control, dominate, and become more greedy than they are and build massive empires, but eventually destroy humanity.
By becoming human as well?
They all become human, and then they will control certain humans that are of value to them. And if they can manipulate and control, they become part of their family, right? But if they can't, they will kill them all. Kill whoever fights against them.
Wow.
There is a truth in this. I know this for a fact because Kanag told me. They want to at least cull over half of the human population.
Wow, that's recent information. So you're talking about the whites,
The whites.
and specifically, most likely, it's this vaccination, right? Is an attempt.
It is an attempt, and they've tried it before with other ones. The
Like
swine
the swine
flu.
flu. Yeah, swine flu was an attempt to cull. Wow.
That's right. Yep. I mean, look back in 2009 when Baxter's International created a vaccine and they put a very high toxin into it, and they said it was an accident. So he didn't end up going to jail for it. And it was only discovered by the Czech Republic that there was a problem, and they brought that to light. And lucky they did, because they would have killed millions and millions of people.
Wow.
And it would have been like genocide, right? Just like Hitler tried to do to the Jews. An interesting factor, I've got to say this, my father, I don't think I mentioned this last time, but my physical human father that had Roman as his son, he always used to keep quite quiet about it and never talk about it, but I used to get it out of him. And he used to cry every time, and I used to wonder myself, like, why is this man crying so much when he had a few beers? And that's his emotions, because he was never allowed, and he had no one that he could actually express what he experienced through the Second World War. My father, like many others, were being Polish. They were taken to these camps. And what they had to do to survive, they had to take out all the dead bodies. And I'm talking massive amounts of dead bodies. It was unbelievable. And that was including little babies, little children, like my son, as if they were rubbish. And they were so thin. And it's like Hitler demoralized them in every way possible. And stole everything. He took out all the gold out of their teeth. Everything you could possibly think of. And they literally threw them into large holes and threw lime over them so their bodies would rot, and bury them in mass graves. And some of them they couldn't get rid of because they tried to burn all the bodies, but they were burning bodies all day long. So if someone like Hitler can do something like that, why is it not possible that these whitish aliens are here to do exactly the same thing and cull over half of the human population? And we're allowing it. We're just going up there freely to get these jabs, not knowing what the consequences are. And why haven't they ever tried to force the vaccination for the influenza? The influenza killed more people, probably thousands and thousands, even not hundreds of thousands worldwide, than what COVID-19 is doing. So why suddenly are they all forcing it so bad? It's called a conspiracy. It's called a world conspiracy. And it's happening right now. And there are hundreds of millions of people worldwide would agree with me. But there are also hundreds of millions would laugh at me. But you know what? It doesn't matter. As long as you know the truth from your heart, then that's all that matters.
I want to ask about the reptilians. Going way, way back, maybe even before they were here, was there something like maybe 2 or 3 homeworlds that they all originated from?
They only originated from one world, one existing world. And it's really strange, Michael, that you asked that question, because it brings a little bit of truth out here again. I created my first book from dreams, experiences. And I've been a very fortunate entity on this planet to be able to have dream experiences that were becoming reality. And I literally put into my book in chapter 7 and chapter 8 in volume 2 about an alien race called Zerazines. And I've discovered that these green reptilians, their actual name is Zerazines. And the name Zayakit was their leader. None of them exist anymore, like on that planet that won. That planet was destroyed, and the survivors went on to another planet, and they recuperated, and they regenerated their civilization. And here they are today, trying to basically take over planet Earth, because they lost everything that they understood, their heritage, everything. What's really interesting, if we look at ourselves, when Atlantis blew up and sank, and all these survivors went all in different directions and started new civilizations, if you went around and studied them, when it comes to their spiritual aspect, they all had a piece of it. But that's all they had, was a piece. And they could never put it all together. And they even went as far as doing sacrifices to their gods, which was just a load of baloney.
They did that they did it for what? Information, energy?
Energy, yes. It's like Satanism. It's still practiced today on Earth, in America especially. In the big rich families, there are these people, like when, what was that guy's name? Lord Byron. Lord Byron was very rich, and he lived a very unique life, very expensive life. And he was into Satanism, and they did worshipping children, babies, and drank their blood, ate their organs. Not many people want to admit that, but it's the truth. And the other thing I have to now say, since I said that, these whitish alien beings, their appetite is interesting. They actually eat organs, heart, liver, lungs, kidneys, all that type of stuff, muscle. And have a guess what they feast on?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I think you do. I think you don't want to say it.
No, it could be wild animals, but it could also be
humans.
People. I was just going to say
humans.
And do they just steal them? Do they just
Yes.
steal them and eat them?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
a fresh one?
Yes, especially the young.
Oh,
That's right. And people are just not even aware what's going on behind closed doors. That's their food. They love it. The fresher, the better. Just like a tiger. Right? The tiger will eat parts of you while you're alive and drink your blood. and they do exactly the same. Pretty horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah, terrible. Terrible. So, okay, I just want to come back again to that last question, which you clarify a lot, but also, so from after Zayakit and they had moved to this second planet, are you saying that is where both, over a long period of time, both the greens and the whites both came from?
The whites didn't, no. The whites are a completely separate civilization. The green reptilians came from one world, and they're the ones that left their planet because it was destroyed. And they literally started living on another planet. They found another planet, and after they recuperated, after several million years of evolution, have a guess who came along? Zayakit. Because Zayakit invented what he would call the transparent planet, where he created from a single atom, not a single atom, by the way, he created what he wanted by experimental devices on an atom, and discovered that he could literally turn that energy on a planet and create it so it's transparent, so he could travel through space anywhere he wanted to.
So the complete planet could?
The complete planet with all the beings upon it.
Wow.
And nothing could penetrate that planet. It was like also a force field. When I say nothing, I shouldn't say that, because if the Nikarons wanted to fight them, they would have just destroyed them. That's not a problem. They would have just broke through the barriers, not a worry. And they would have just turned it back into a solid planet. They weren't that strong. But to the average species out there, they wouldn't have been able to do that. So eventually Zayakit came into existence.
Wow. And was a leader there and did that. And so was the rest of the history of that basically in your book, The Dream Assassin?
Yes, but one thing. Zayakit, unfortunately, died. And they lost their leader. But they recuperated and picked a leader amongst their own people. So Zayakit was there for several hundred years, leading their people, even into battle. But he perished. But I carried Zayakit on into my book to make it more dramatic. There was actual reality, and then I created the fantasy to complete the book in that chapter.
Right. So that, which was their second world, where Zayakit was the leader for a while, and then he died, that world is where the Greens did actually come from 200,000 years ago or something.
Well, see, that world still exists. And all these green aliens now here on planet Earth that are trying to do what they're doing, they come from that planet.
Do they go back and forth, or?
Yes, they do. They travel in their ships back and forth, yes.
And firstly, they used to be taking minerals.
That's right.
And now it's got more.
It's got more, how would you say, interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so now what about the whites?
Now the whites, now what are you asking first?
Well, like what planet, where do they come from?
They come from a very, very long distance away, Michael. Very, very far.
In comparison to the Greens.
In comparison to the Greens, yes. In a completely different direction in the universe, let's say to the Greens, or to where Dorothea may be, or the Ilias, or even the Nikarons. Because the universe is so huge. There is not a person in the universe that could travel it and ever reach the other side in 1,000 lifetimes, or even 10,000 lifetimes.
Gee.
The only entity that could travel the entire universe, which he has, is Yakas Kardas. And when I say only, I'm saying only ones like him. And there are several. I've never had the pleasure of knowing them. The only ones that I know is Yakis and Taikani.
Right, 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 right. So they're in a completely different direction and far, far away.
Very far.
And this comes back to where you had said that they were like rebels that wanted to. Can you explain that? They were.
Oh, okay. Back on their planet when they were there, he was like the leader. Now the leader exists today. Now you'd say, well, how come he can still exist? Well, through their genetic engineering. Do you remember how I said to you, well, if I died physically now and I go into spirit world, I am fully aware of who I am or who I was, and fully aware of all my lifetimes on this planet, which was only 3 other lives to this one, and all the lives that I've had on, Taurus and Durakea and my own planet. So I'm aware of all those lives. This being, who is their leader, he has the ability now, if he passes over, his spirit can enter straight away into another body of his choosing, not have to go through the birth process, right? It's like I didn't go through a birth process. I came in under an agreement with the original recipient. And that agreement is law binding between the two. We have total respect for each other. One goes out, one comes in. It's just a changing of energy patterns. And that's what this leader can do through a technical procedure.
It's technical, yeah, wow.
Yeah, so he can literally go through some machine or lay in some machine, and he can literally take it, the spirit of who he is, can literally go from one body to the other. And if he already dies, say through some sort of violence, his spirit is aware of his existence. So it can still then go into the other body of his choosing. And the spirit that was in that original body just leaves as if it's dead. It's quite interesting to observe and understand.
So that awareness that leader has, do the others have that awareness as well?
No, they don't. No, they don't. He's very protective of that, and he looks after them. That's why they're very rich, wealthy, and they live these most exotic lives. They do what they want. They're above the law. You know, they say nobody's above the law. Well, they are. They are above the law.
And you're talking about on this planet still? On
this planet, yeah. Well, if I was mentioning families, let's use some examples. The Rockefellers, the Morgans, right? All those types of family.
Rothschilds.
Yeah, that's right. They're so rich that they're beyond the law because they basically own so many people in so many high places. Just like the mobsters did, like Al Capone. Al Capone always used to rave on how he owned Edgar Hoover. And that's what I wrote into my book. I had quite a large section where Al Capone thinks that he actually owns Edgar Hoover. You know, just things, that's how it is. It's manipulation through wealth, because wealth will buy anything normally. And that's what these people do.
And these people are influence and even are the reptilians anyway, those particular families?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, and their bloodline stays together.
Yeah. So back on the leader is he back on that original planet?
No.
He's here. The leader's here.
He's here. Yeah. If they went back,
get you.
Yeah. If they went back, Michael, they would be killed. Right. Now, you got to understand that this is going back 452 years. I'm not sure how long they literally live. I have no idea at this point. I can find that out. But some of his ones that were originally with him, most of them, in fact, have perished. Right? But he has helped them come back in. But they don't have the knowledge of knowing. That's the difference.
They don't remember when they incarnate.
No, they don't. And that's keeps them ignorant, so it keeps him at the top. And he allows them to live in human form, and they're the ones from bloodline to bloodline to bloodline are so filthy rich that they can do anything. Right? But he's the controller. And what's interesting is he's the one shaking George Bush's hand.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, and just to go one step further, you asked, didn't answer your question about their planet. On their planet, they were doing some really barbaric experiments. And we do it here. We cut off bodies and we put other pieces on here and other pieces on there, and just experimental. And they were using their own people. Their people were disappearing, and they were literally carving up people like their own kind in these experiments. So when they were discovered, they did find out they were hunted down. But the leader, he was aware of what was going on, and he took a large ship with so many followers with him, with all the technology and food that they would need to travel through space. And then he said, I remember the planet. And because they traveled to Earth for thousands of years prior to take all the minerals, especially gold, back to their own world, he decided to come here and stay. And that's what they've done.
And the spaceship?
And their spaceship is still here, hidden. Where? I don't have any idea.
And they had a tracker on that spaceship, right?
That's right.
So they destroy the tracker?
They destroyed the tracker so they couldn't. They knew that straight away. He's an engineer. He's a scientist, but he's an engineer. This white alien, very, very, let's say, intelligent. Yes.
So in comparison, the green ones were also for a while taking a lot of minerals themselves.
They were taking minerals, but they weren't taking as many as the whitish aliens. But they were doing that, yes. But they took a very, very big turn in their evolution. They started to study the humans more closely. And they also realized that they could easily be manipulated through thought. And all they had to do was project over them, even stand beside them and talk. And people would think that, oh, that's my higher self talking to me. But it's not. So they wanted to change their evolution, which they're doing secretly.
Wow. And you're talking about the greens right now. Green
reptilians. The greens, yes. When
they were both taking minerals back hundreds of thousands of years ago, they didn't.
No. The green reptilians have only been coming here for several thousand years. It's the whitish aliens that were coming here several 100,000 years ago and taking the minerals in a big way. I mean, a big way. They had massive solid ships and tremendous machinery to actually take them. And how they actually cut that mountaintop with one of their ships is laser, accurately cut with a laser that would actually slice through mountains. It was that powerful.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine if they went to America with that type of ship and they just put their laser out there and all the buildings, the massive skyscrapers, they could chop the whole lot off in one go. That would be amusing, wouldn't it? I mean, if you look at it, God.
Wow, yeah, wow. They are telepathic as well, aren't they?
They are telepathic, yes. Yes, they are. When I say telepathic, when they had Zayakit as their leader, he controlled them.
And we're talking about the greens.
Yeah, the greens. He controlled them through what is a mass hypnosis. He had the ability, because he was this 9-foot alien with the most unbelievable big head and massive mouth, a very big carnivore, and he loved just eating raw meat. That's what they ate, raw meat of these massive animals. He had that ability. When he controlled his people, they had no awareness that he was controlling them. They just looked up to him as if he was the big father. That's how they saw it. The big father leader that was wise and strong and powerful. And that's what they wanted, because they lost their heritage, even though there was thousands and thousands and thousands of them through that evolution on the second planet. But today, they have the ability, but they have to use technology to communicate through. When their waves of their brain send a message out, it has to go into a mass machine which produces the flow of energy that then produces the sound of recording it to a voice. It's got to go through some form of technology to do that. They don't have a leader that picks up all their thoughts. They have this mass machine on their ships, in fact, each of their ships, that they can just think the messages and send them through. They're very good being very direct with that. And this machine picks it up, deciphers it, and then puts it into words, and there's your answer, or whatever it may be. So they don't have that ability like they used to.
Like they used to, you say?
Well, when I'm saying I used to, it was when Zayakit was alive. Because he could put them all under hypnosis under one massive thing with just his powerful head. They then could send messages and he would pick that up directly. He knew exactly where every single one of them were on their energy patterns.
Wow, no technology.
That's right. He knew.
Wow.
So there was no machines involved to pick up any vibration sound of thought. It was all direct, and he would pick it up. And he could decipher it.
What made him so special? Why did he grow to be such a special leader?
Okay. It's not that he grew into that. He was already like that, like all his people. He had the most flourishing planet, and they were one of the most feared type of species in the universe. And they were very deeply into technology. When he grew up, he became a scientist, and he developed how to manipulate an atom to his way. He couldn't test it enough, and his ego was so huge, and he was also very greedy, and he didn't want to share his technology with anyone. He wanted to keep it to himself. So he was so scared that he was going to lose it that he decided to get into a ship, go into outer space, and set it off. And he did. And have a guess what he did? He blew up the entire planet, and it imploded upon itself.
We're talking about the original planet?
No, his original planet. His, not the Zerazenes. His original planet. He even killed his own father and mother, his siblings, his wife, and his 3 children. He sacrificed his own family and his civilization to keep that secret. Because that would have been the richest thing in the universe to be able to do that. To literally create a machine so massive that it would literally, energy would penetrate the planet and create it from solid matter externally into being transparent, and then move that planet out of its orbit and take it wherever he wanted to, and realign the gravity fields within a dimension so he could park it like a car. He learnt that, and he had his whole army to help him. They built everything for him. He told them how to build it, and they built it.
So because the planet blew up, it didn't work? Sorry, I'm just not following how... If you could make it...
Yeah, his original... No, sorry. The Zerazene's original planet, they destroyed it themselves, and there was only so many survivors. I mean, there was a lot of them, but so many out of the entire population that got away before the planet died right out.
Just because of the way they were treating it?
That's right.
Okay.
It just died right out. It became a dead planet. They found another planet. And then out of nowhere, after probably I think about 1.5 to 2 million years of evolution, Zayakit was in space and he came across their planet and he studied their planet for a while and he realized that they're similar to him, not the same, and he's the only one. And he made himself out to be this god. He connected with them, came to their planet, and they were so overwhelmed with his abilities and his scientific understanding that he decided to help them and they decided to worship him basically. And he became their leader, like their god. And they fought many battles in those several hundred years that he was there. But he died. How? I'm not sure. So they lost again what they built up because no one was there to take his place because he no longer controlled them. And when they came back to reality, when they came back to their own reality, it shocked them so much they didn't know what to do. They had no understanding of love, no understanding of compassion, empathy, even the will to do anything. And then they went out and started searching the universe and they came across planet Earth. So the last few thousand years they've been playing with humans.
And going back and forth.
Yeah, going back and forth.
Yeah, so I've just made the connection. So there was the original planet of the Greens and they moved to another one. And then Zayakit had come from another planet where his family, friends and everything he had kind of destroyed. Now, why did he destroy it?
To keep his secret.
Yeah, and the secret was that he could move a planet around.
That's right.
Out of sync of normal reality.
That's right. He was very hungry for power. And that's what happens like Hitler. Look at Hitler. Look what Hitler did. I mean, if Hitler can do it, why can't Zayakit? He just did it on a much larger scale.
So the Zerazenes are the green ones.
That is correct.
Okay. And the white ones, which are from a very far planet away?
Very far. Very far.
Yeah. Okay. And you don't have a name on them, or do you have a name?
No, I don't. No, not yet. No.
Well, another epic episode. Thank you so much, Kuntarkis, for all that you've shared. And if you'd like to contact us for any reason, for instance, to make a suggestion of maybe a topic that we could cover, or for whatever reason you'd like to contact us, you can email kuntarkis@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook. Simply search Kuntarkis. And that is it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for the next one.